Good morning, security gang, and welcome back to the CyberHub Podcast. It's Tuesday, October 28th, 2021. We're wrapping up the month of October this week, and I got to tell you, where did this year go? Where? It's November. It's November. Pretty soon, after Friday, every store you walk into will play Christmas music. It'll be holiday cheer everywhere. And we'll be at the end of the year looking at 2026, and everyone will have their 2026 predictions ready in play. But here we are. So yesterday, major milestone here at the CyberHub Podcast, 1,000 episodes of this show. What a milestone it was. So many people reached out, so much love. I got to say thank you to every single person that took time out of their day to send a brief text message, a comment on one of our posts. Really meaningful. You guys touched me deep in my heart. It really was something. So thank you to every single one of y'all that reached out. Today, episode 1001. That's right. We're now in 4 digits. And as someone from Apple Podcast who called me yesterday to say congratulations and all of that good stuff, said, you're in the 8th percentile. So 8th percentile of podcast reach. So many millions and millions of podcasts, but very, very few reached a 1,000 episode mark. Very few. So we joined a special club. With that being said, we've got a packed show this morning, a lot to talk about. Let's get right into it. Got my double espresso, and look at that foam right there. I don't know if y'all can see that. That's gorgeous. Coffee cup cheers, y'all. I love a good cup of coffee in the morning. All right. We'll kick off with this story coming out of Sweden, where a power grid operator is probing a data breach with no operational impact. And that's really important to say, because a lot of times we start with a story and everyone goes, oh, how big was it? There was no operational impact here to the power operator, but it is showing you that ransomware gangs are now looking at critical infrastructure and testing the waters. And this specific threat actor tested the state grid operator Svenska Kraftnät, saying the ransomware gang claims to have exfiltrated hundreds of gigabytes via a limited external file transfer solution. Power delivery was not affected. Investigation is still ongoing. Again, this is an IT side data theft with a potential for partner targeting, potential business email compromise, potential smishing and phishing of vendors and contractors, reconnaissance on grid architecture from some of those stolen documents if they were in there, which is significant. And again, in the power industry, the latter right there, the reconnaissance on grid architecture, is likely the most valuable piece of information they can steal, because it essentially tells you how the station is set up, what devices sit where, what's the subnets, what's the network layout, what's sitting in front of what. And in many cases, all of that information is readily available in one document, because that's just how that information is shared. And when it's stored on a FTP type of server, which apparently this is what this was, then you're likely going to see that information get out. Now, in NERC-CIP in the US, NERC-CIP is the regulatory body for energy generation and transmission. That would be a significant event, just so you understand. That would be extremely significant. NERC-CIP understands the sensitivity of a grid architecture, and that would have been a red flag for our friends over at NERC-CIP. If you're looking around mitigation for this, again, third-party credentials tied to file transferring tools should be rotated all the time. And again, you want to take a look at your data movement and any sort of activity that takes place within your environment. We move to another one of these breaches here, and this was not off alignment. What is happening? All right. So Google is saying Gmail was not breached. Threat actors are saying, yes, we breached it. Viral posts are claiming millions of Gmail accounts were hacked. Google flatly denying, saying that only any breach, and says it routinely resets exposed credentials found in the wild. Translation: expect password reuse fallout, not a Gmail compromise here. And again, if you're able to enforce MFA and we'll get to an MFA story here in just a little bit on later in the show. But if you're able to enforce MFA, you want to do that. They're saying that they purportedly breached 183 million accounts. That's not the case here. And Troy Hunt saying the story stems, he recently saw a massive collection of 183 compromised credentials to the data breach platform shared by Cynthia. These credentials were not stolen in a single data breach, but rather it looks like info stealing, malware, data breaches, credential stuffing, and phishing. And then someone dropped in and said, "We hacked Gmail." Typical in this kind of world. Extremely typical when we see what some threat actors do. North Korea is targeting European drone makers in Operation Dream Job. ESET is reporting that Lazarus is spearphishing European UAV and drone suppliers using fake job lures to drop RATs and even exfiltrate IP. It's aimed at accelerating North Korea's drone program. And again, IP theft feeds adversary weapons programs. We saw that when Obama had a UAV drop in Iran, and instead of destroying the UAV remotely through a military craft, he allowed an advanced UAV to fall into the hands of the Iranians and the Chinese, and we saw that technology being reverse engineered and used. And Iran today is the number one supplier of drones to Russia in the Russia-Ukraine war. They were also using plenty of drones. They're supplying it to some of their terror proxies in Yemen. Yemen were using drones, and in fact, one drone hit just outside of a mall, killing 2 people in Israel and Eilat, the southern city. And again, all that comes from Iran and the stealing of adversary weapon programs. They're not inventing it. Iran, like North Korea, same playbook. Let's steal the IP. Let's steal how they do it. Then let's build it ourselves. And that's exactly what's happening here. Operation Dream Job is what this was nicknamed. It was first observed in 2022. And now it's coming right back again as the North Koreans seemingly want to develop a drone program. We'll see how that comes into place as well. And again, the North Korean IT job scam, half of it is human related, half of it is technology. And so you want to balance the two, right? You want to balance kind of the interviews. You kind of want to highlight key specific TTPs and IOCs. And I can tell you, speaking to a fellow CISO who goes like, look, we're seeing 10 of these a week. So they're now are able to scale much faster and at a much larger number. So beware of that. Beware of that, because that's going to be significant as well. We move to our another story. So sorry, these came off alignment here, and they weren't a second ago. Like literally before we started the show, I checked this time, and they're now off alignment this morning. So part of doing a live show is dealing with some of this stuff as well. A critical ASP.NET core flaw is hitting QNAP's NetBack PC agent for Windows devices. QNAP is warning that its NetBack PC agent is affected by Microsoft's highest severity ASP.NET core issue. Patches are out for it, so you want to make sure you patch your endpoints running NetBack. You want to redeploy images and even add WAF rules for odd request patterns if the service is internet exposed in order to mitigate that risk. We continue with the Chinese are impersonating critical and general services, even online platforms and cryptocurrency exchanges in a massive smishing campaign. The smishing triad is scaled now to 194,000 domains. Palo Alto's tracking the China-linked SMS phishing operation, exploding from 10,000 to 194,000 domains since 2024. They're impersonating toll, delivery, and even crypto services. Again, a lot of customer fraud could take place here, even employee fraud. In some of these cases, they could look at OTP theft that could fuel account takeovers. And if those accounts are sitting on devices where they could potentially deploy info stealers, you can imagine your corporate credentials could be stolen there as well. So you want to throttle SMS OTP. You want to prioritize web authentication, block known smishing domains, and add number reputation checks on recovery flows in order to make sure that you're building resilience against these types of Chinese attacks that are taking place against folks. And again, they're primarily targeting victims in Argentina, Australia, Canada, France, Germany, Ireland, Israel, Lithuania, Malaysia, Mexico, Poland, Russia, the UAE, UK, and other countries. You can see the full list at Palo Alto's, and we'll have that link available at cyberhubpodcast.com after the fact. So AI browsers are this kind of new thing. Perplexity launched Comet. I like Comet. I've used Comet here and there. I've used ChatGPT's version. I forgot the name of it. I've tried them. I'm still not completely sold. Well, now threat actors are creating lookalikes in apps and sites targeting those users. So Comet launched. Threat actors stood up fake domains and apps to piggyback the hype and deliver malware. Again, technology is moving really, really fast. We as practitioners have to know that it's going to move fast. We have to kind of look ahead. So a few mitigations for this types of threats. You want a domain allow listing for downloads. You want an EDR policy to block unsigned Comet installers. And you want staff guidance to fetch apps from vendor stores only in that world. The analysis from Before AI observed an increase in fraudulent domains promoting an executable version of the browser available for download via third-party websites. Now, I guarantee you, the folks at Perplexity didn't think about this. This wasn't part of the launch. When they do this exclusive launch, only, sign up, waitlist type of rollout in order to build hype, in order to see whether there's real market appetite for it. Everyone's trying to get into the browser space, and I understand why. There's a lot of cash in it. I mean, for these AI companies running the browser space, not only trains their AI better, it also helps them generate revenue from non-subscribers, meaning the free users who use the browser can now receive ads that they run on their ad network. So all of that plays into the general kind of flow there, but I guarantee you they didn't think about that. And this is something good to put in place. Are we risking our reputation or customers by doing that? Speaking of MFA, X is warning all users must re-enroll their security key MFA by November 10th, or you're getting locked out of your X account. That's because security keys are domain scoped. X is requiring re-enrollment on x.com. Missed the deadline and you'll be locked out until you re-enroll or switch to MFA. So you want to make sure you update your corporate social accounts now and document ownership backup keys in your comms runbook to make sure you don't get locked out of that as well. And we go into Italy, where apparently spyware is coming from Italy. Now, you know who I haven't heard of recently? Citizens Lab. That's right. It's not from Israel. No news. Chinese spyware. Citizens Lab. Looking elsewhere. Italians spyware. Chinese lab. Citizens Lab. Nowhere to be seen. But Italian commercial spyware is being tied to the Chrome zero-day operations that we've recently talked about here on the show. Researchers link Operation Forum told Chrome's zero-day exploitation to Momento Labs, a successor to hacking teams. It's primarily targeting media and government tooling overlaps with Dante's spyware. So you want to first update your Chromium audit extensions and add detection for render/broker escalation on journalists and execs' laptops. We talked about this yesterday. Now we know the spyware is coming from Italy, according to Kaspersky. And again, Citizens Lab, nowhere to be seen. Nowhere. Tell me your motives without telling me your motives. This is one of those. And finally, the U.S. is finally declining to join the UN Cybercrime Treaty because it's useless. Washington is withholding support over the human rights and surveillance concerns in the UN Cybercrime Treaty. This is likely not going to have any material impact on all of us, but there was concern prior to the election that the Biden administration may rush this treaty through and signing it before they would leave office. However, the delays there have kind of brought this away. The UK, EU are joining China, Russia, Brazil, Nigeria, dozens of other nations and signing it, laying out mechanisms for governments to coordinate, build capacity, and track those who use technology to commit crimes. So the UN is trying to sell this as a powerful treaty. The UN has yet to stop a war. The UN has to have a moral compass any point period in time. So it's a good thing that the Trump administration is not signing on to this thing. That's actually a good thing. The United States will continue to review the treaty, a State Department spokesperson said, but they don't plan to be in Hanoi to sign it. And That's a good thing. It's the first global treaty to criminalize crimes that depend on the internet, and it's the first international treaty to recognize the non-consensual dissemination of intimate images as an offense. Again, all those things are positive, but not with the UN at the helm. All those things are positive, but not with the UN at the helm. There's just keep that in mind. That's it for our show this morning. We'll be back tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern live with all the latest cybersecurity news. You can find out more at cyberhubpodcast.com. Exclusive content is available there. All of these stories, by the way, just so you know, if you go to our website, you have a full written version of the stories, short paragraphs with a great to-do list at the very end with some of your action lists. You can get that all directly in your inbox for absolutely free by going to cyberhubpodcast.com and signing up there. Until then, thank you all for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day and a great rest of your week. And most importantly, y'all, stay spooky and stay cyber safe.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.